Is this weekend going to be a separation Saturday in the SEC where we find out which teams are actually destined to be considered a threat for the college football playoff? It feels like it with Red River, LSU versus South Carolina, Alabama versus Missouri, Georgia, Auburn, and even if we don't get all those answers, we're going to get a good gauge. But before that happens, let's do another tier ranking. So, welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. It's Cole Thompson here. Like the video, hit the ring notification. We're on the race to 30,000 subscribers, so make sure you hit that subscribe button because we talk college football daily. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. And as always, we're proudly brought to you by our friends over at FANDUEL. Go visit FANDUEL.com/SECU. Get started today with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Lay down $5 on a Heisman odd, a national championship odd, a win total. Win that bet, get $250 in bonus bets right now at FANDUEL.com/SECU. So remember, this is a tier ranking. It is not a power ranking, not 1 through 16. There are going to be teams that are very close to each other. There are going to be teams that are drastically apart. But I'm not going to waste any time because if you already kind of understand that. And if you don't at this point, well, that's just your loss. As per usual, is it basketball season? Kentucky, you're still the only lone person in this category. I like to think that things are changing out in Lexington, but they're really not. You found your way into the end zone to get a backdoor cover and not find a way to cost me money. But you know what? You still weren't able to do much with Cutter Boley. I don't think that Zach Calzada is going to be that much more promising. The inability to run the football last week was pretty evident. Your defense gave up far too many explosive plays. The writing is on the wall that as much as Mark Stoops may be able to right the ship for another year, to get to the level of where you want to be as a legit threat in the SEC, it's not going to come with this head of coaching staff. So change is inevitable. Life in the fast lane. This is Arkansas. Welcome back, Bobby Petrino. Now you're the head coach, and you've made some changes that potentially are good enough to keep Arkansas in a conversation for a bowl game. You're living life on the edge. And you know what? Maybe that's fine. Because the last time you had Bobby Petrino inside the building and you were living life on the edge, you were a top 10 team on the rise as a legit threat to win a national title. People were taking Arkansas seriously, and maybe that's what's necessary. But maybe it also comes in crashes and burns. But you know what? It's all fine. Because this season at this point, it's a wash. Sam Pittman, best of luck in your future endeavors. Have a cold beer. Bobby Petrino, try to right the ship. And if you don't, well, you weren't going to be on the coaching staff next year anyways with whoever was going to be hired as Sam Pittman's replacement. Head coach opening, and you might notice this, it's a little bit different this week. Last week, I said head coach opening, period. This week, it has a question mark. There's one person here, and it's Florida. Is Billy Napier going to be safe? Scott Strickland, for those of you that don't know, is probably not itching to make a head coaching move. In fact, I would say for my money, he very much wants to see Billy Napier figure this thing out. And at the version of Florida that we saw last Saturday against Texas, the ability to run the football behind Jaden Baugh, have stellar defensive play, even without Caleb Banks, pressure quarterbacks into making mistakes, forcing turnovers, and DJ Lagway living up to the potential that we all envisioned, if that's the one we see moving forward, well, they're going to get some wins. They're going to be Kentucky. They find a way to always win in the swamp against Tennessee. They probably can handle business against Florida State. They certainly can make it interesting when they go down to Oxford to take on Ole Miss. And now we're talking about an 8-4 season. 8-4 is better than 7-5, which would have been his record last season when people said Billy needed to go. So things right now in Florida are still very much up in the air. Imagine it just took 3 to 4 games for Florida to find its footing. And now it's a little frustrating because if you're not going to be good enough to go to the college football playoff, but are you going to be too good with this staff, with what you have offensively and what you have currently growing and developing underneath Billy Napier to say, you know what, let's go ahead and make a change. Bygones be bygones. We're going to cut loose with all these recruits that came here for Billy Napier, and we're going to hit reset once again. That might not be what Scott Strickland is thinking. So head coach opening, Florida. We're going to have a better answer when you come back from Kyle Field on Saturday evening. Fight or flight mode. Welcome to the party, Auburn. Because in my opinion, Auburn is a lot like Florida. They don't want to get rid of Hugh Freeze. They don't want to pay that massive buyout. Look at how many recruits have come on in because Freeze sold them on the identity of what belongs on the Plains Jordan here on Saturday night. And then all of these recruits now see him go, and you say, well, are they going to stick and be loyal to the program, or are they going to go to the highest bidder? So it's fight or flight mode. What do you look like after 2 road hostile environments and a bye week coming on home to Jordan here to take on Georgia? The thing that we know about Jordan here, The voodoo shaman, man. He lives and he seeps that magic into the soil once per year to pull off an upset against top 25 team. Is this the matchup where it happens? Do we see Jackson Arnold take that next step forward as a passer? Does the offensive line actually have time to protect the quarterback long enough for him to get throws down the field? Because this is not an elite Georgia front that gets after quarterbacks efficiently. Didn't do so last week with Cutter Boley. Didn't do so 2 weeks ago when they took on Ty Simpson and the Alabama Crimson Tide. They haven't been able to win that battle. So it's fight or flight mode. It's time to shut up and shut up if you are Auburn, because you want to show that year 3 underneath Hugh is trending in the direction that is supposed to be promising and filled with potential. Texas, welcome to fight or flight mode once again. And honestly, you're getting closer to looking towards 2026 if we're being completely honest. Why? Because of your offense is dreadful right now. You got to have a jolt, a spark. And I don't know where that comes. The offensive line cannot protect Arch Manning. Arch is overshooting his receivers when he does have a clean pocket, and it's leading to turnovers. Wide receivers are not getting off the line of scrimmage without being bullied in the process. You aren't able to run the football efficiently, and this was supposed to be a team that took the next step forward after last season with what you lost on the offensive personnel. Hayden Quinn Ewers could not stomach to see him out there, and yet right now I think that there's a slew of Texas fans that are saying, man, we took Quinn Ewers for granted. Who could have told you that a couple months ago? Luckily for you, you have a defense that's going to keep you in every single game, and that includes the Red River Shootout this weekend that I do believe is going to come down to the wire simply because it's the Red River Shootout. We know what kind of crazy stuff happens in the Cotton Bowl. But you got to show that your offense is going to improve. And if it doesn't, well, then unfortunately, we're going to live in a world where Arch Manning, the quarterback, whether or not we believe he was necessarily adding in this type of pressure, is not going to be in the college football playoff this season. South Carolina, you also fit the fight or flight mode. What are we going to notice from the offensive personnel changes from a week ago? And you know why that's really important to me, in my opinion? Because look at Florida. Florida took a bye week, realized this isn't working, and we got to make the personnel changes. And now our quarterback is actually meeting the expectations. We're running the football efficiently. Wide receivers are breaking on open and getting into the end zone. Oh, and we got a defense that can bail us out of trouble. Was the spark against Kentucky, where you got 2 defensive turnovers and big-time touchdowns, enough to give you time for your offense to get that jolt back on its side of the football? Because you're going into Death Valley. And it's very hard to win in Death Valley in general. It's extremely challenging to win at night. And this is a Brian Kelly-led squad that wants to make a statement. You're playing with a little bit of vengeance on your mind. Nicky Manwar's touchdown should have counted. Should have been in the end zone. And then eventually, what should have occurred is them being in the college football playoff. So Shane Beamer, you got a daunting Cocktober ahead. What do you look like in game 1, in the first step of the process, to put yourself in a position where this can transcend South Carolina for the long haul? Mississippi State, you're still in this category. Offensively, you're dealing with the slew of injuries on the line, Fluff Bothwell status long-term after getting carted off against Texas A&M. It's a little concerning. What do you got with Blake Shapen? Where are you going to see from this offense taking the next jump forward? Can you have that same spark and identity that was there when you faced off against Arizona State, that took Tennessee down to the wire? And it was enough to make you think, we're still a team that probably has enough left to go to a bowl game. And bowl game in year 2 after going 2-10 the year before, 2 wins in conference play, massive step in the right direction for Jeff Lebby in the organization. Especially when nobody thought that you were going to be anything this year. Like, nobody said 8-4 is a great season, but it's a little underwhelming for Mississippi State. Now, they'd be writing the ticker tape parade and giving you all the accolades for the maroon and white out in Starkville if that was the case. Can you get back to that level after the bye week? You got time to heal, got time to recoup and recover. What do you look like next? Lastly, it's LSU. LSU is in fight or flight mode because if you have a defense finally good enough to win you a national title and an offense that's stalling on all cylinders, you can't run the football. And this is what you are as an offense at this point. So how do you respond and put yourself in a position where you're able to now get back to the good times? And when I say the good times, what I mean is you can trust that your offense is going to have some bit of a spark. And it could be anything from Garrett Nussmeier connecting with Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson making some big time plays. Maybe it's going to be Nick Anderson winning a one-on-one battle on a 40-yard play downfield. Garrett Nussmeier maybe making some plays with his legs. What is it? But you got to show me something, because of right now, your defense is pitching nearly shutouts, or at least putting up performances that are salvageable. It's a top 15 unit in scoring. It's a top 10 unit in total yards allowed. It's a top 10 unit in pass coverage, and you're creating turnovers, but you're doing nothing with it. So now you're in fight or flight mode, because of a lot of people are going to view you as a punching bag starting next week in Nashville if you do not find a way to respond offensively. And that includes looking at the entire picture, the entire premise of where we are currently with Garrett Nussmeier and his health status to go ahead and put you in a position where you can attack. As big as a game as this is for South Carolina, it's a massive game for LSU to kind of turn the tides and let everyone know we still are an offense that means business. We still are a team that can deliver its best punch when you least expect it. Hey, real quickly, we'll get back to the video. All I ask is that you look down and make sure that you are subscribed to SEC Unfiltered. We're on the race to 30,000 subs. It's free, and the best way to make sure that we give you the proper content is by subscribing to the channel. That's all we ask for as we go ahead and push toward 30,000. Okay, back to the video. Next up, doubted and dangerous. Vanderbilt still belongs in this category. What, you're going to tell me that a 2-possession loss where J.M. Miller finds his way in the end zone as the nail in the coffin is enough to take Vanderbilt out of the dangerous category? For a team that was sitting at 5-0 going into this matchup and had a time of possession battle that ranked inside the top 10 and a point differential that was the second highest in the SEC, you still realize that they have a schedule that is beneficial enough to where they will be battle tested against quality teams like Auburn, like Missouri, like Tennessee, like LSU, like Texas, that could still allow them to be a team that fights for a college football playoff berth. They know how to throw the football. And yes, 2 horrendous turnovers by Diego Pavia ultimately led to the demise of the Commodores out in Tuscaloosa. That happened. But that's not going to be the case every single Saturday. And we're acting like that Vanderbilt has just fallen off the face of the earth because they lost to a team that many people picked to win the national title. And they made it a 4-quarter game. It just wasn't enough to get the job done because of reckless play at times inside the 20, and a backdoor cover by a running back that finally hit 100 yards for the first time since 2023 in a game. I'm not doubting Vanderbilt, but if you want to doubt them, that's fine. That's what makes them dangerous. And they have a bye week to get better and to get acclimated and to fix those flaws before they welcome in LSU, before they have to take on Texas, before they have to go face off against Auburn in their backyard, Mizzou in their backyard, and then they close out the year with Tennessee. I'm not going to sleep on the Commodores at all. They still could be a college football playoff threat. Like, I did my rankings this past week. They barely moved down. You want to know why? Because they didn't need to move down that much. Show me what you look like against LSU, and then we can have a conversation on if we're going to move you into fight or flight territory. Tennessee belongs in this category because there's still people doubting Tennessee. They have the 103rd ranked pass defense. They are the 110th ranked scoring defense right now, and they have the number 1 scoring offense in the country. And people are like, well, they'll find a way to mess it on up. Why? Like, if they're able to run the football efficiently with 3 different dudes in Star Thomas and in Peyton Lewis and Deshaun Bishop, and then you get a quarterback like Joey Aguilar already building a pretty good repertoire with Mike Matthews and Chris Brazzell. As long as you outscore the other opponent, yeah, it's going to be basically a heart attack on Saturdays, but you'll live with it so long as you get the dub. And that's what makes them dangerous. Their offense is so prolific, and they have a quarterback that fits the system so well that I can negate the faults of the defense in most matchups. Now, I'm not ready to say this team is still destined to go to the college football playoff. They could find a way to lose to Alabama. They could find a way to lose to Arkansas, lose to Vanderbilt, and lose to Florida in the swamp, a place that they never win, and go 8-4. That might end up being the synopsis that we see this year. But I'm not doubting them at this point. They got to give me a reason to. And nothing at this level has shown me that they cannot win football games. Because even when they had those turnovers against Mississippi State and Starkville, what happened? They responded with 14 points of their own that capitalized on defensive scores. Colton Hood, Joseph scoop and score. That's the thing that I hold my hat on to that says Arkansas, Alabama, you could throw in Vanderbilt, you could throw in Florida. They may give you a good punch. You'll punch them right back in the face and smile while doing it. And Missouri belongs in this conversation. Missouri, again, Who have they played? It's the laziest narrative I hear in sports these days. And honestly, shame on you for thinking that that's okay. Who have you played is kind of an oxymoron because I'd rather you say how you played in those games. And against Kansas and against Louisiana and against South Carolina and against Central Arkansas and against UMass, Mizzou's defense has looked pretty freaking legit. Now, the secondary has had its faults, and certainly that is a big-time test this weekend with Alabama coming into town, number 5 passing offense in the country. But still, I look top to bottom at where this team resides and say to myself, you really want to go ahead and say that Mizzou can't make a run with their schedule to the college football playoff because they currently have the number 2 rushing offense in the country. They also can run the football with guys outside of Ahmad Hardy. They got a quarterback that's mobile in Bo Pabula, and good luck stopping Jamal Roberts in the open space. So they got a counteractive secondary punch that is an absolute mismatch. Oh, and they also have a couple of wide receivers that can find their way to get on open, especially inside the red zone like Kevin Coleman and Brett Norfleet. So the offense is humming at the right time. They're a top 10 scoring unit in college football. Their defense is being able to pressure the quarterback and making mistakes. It's a veteran defensive line. Corey Batoon has got the transfers to come on in and proven that they can fit his system. Oh, and Eli Drinkwitz right now, if we look at 2023 on, is the 3rd most winningest coach in the SEC. But let's go ahead and doubt them because of its Mizzou. Do you understand how illogically inaccurate that is? Come on. Even with the loss to Alabama on Saturdays, if it's close, they've shown you enough that things are changing out in Como. And if they get 10-2, they're this year's Tennessee. Maybe not a signature win, but it's enough to go ahead and get you in the college football playoff. The usual suspects is up next, and there's no surprise here. It's Alabama and Georgia. Alabama, once again, has the top 5 passing offense in the country, and they may have the Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback in Ty Simpson. He's surgical. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Every 30th play, you ask yourself, have you ever played college football before? And the other 29, you say to yourself, that's an All-American. And so which is the one I'm going to care about more? The one blundering blip on the radar that could become a major fault at times, or the 29 plays that got us to a position where we're winning by 14? I think you know the answer to that one. I still think Alabama has a second gear to its offense that's just getting underway. And that means that we are finally going to see the rushing attack take that next jump forward. Jam Miller did well against Georgia. He was awesome against Vanderbilt. First time we've seen an Alabama running back rush for over 100 yards since 2023. Pretty big time deal for the Kalen DeBoer era, if you say so myself. Oh, and they got another weapon outside of just Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard. His name is Isaiah Horton, and he makes plays left and right. And if he's not a good enough weapon, might I introduce you to a big 360-pound offensive fullback / wide receiver / future first-round offensive tackle, Caden Proctor. Because I can tell you what, Ryan Grubb is going to deal him on up play after play after play. And there have been some designs that we have yet to envision that Grubb has already mastered behind closed doors and is waiting to unveil to the public eye every single Saturday moving forward. Alabama feels like right now it is in the driver's seat to make it to Atlanta and make it to the college football playoff. And I don't think Georgia's that far behind. Look at what they have offensively. You got the ability to run the football with Bowens and Frazier and Josh McCray and Bo Walker and Gunnar Stockton. You also have a quarterback that when he works in the screen game, he's got weapons that can boot, scoot, and boogie like Brooks and Dunn on a dance floor and find their way into the end zone for 6 points. With Dylan Bell, with Oscar Delp, with Zachariah Branch, they can't pass rush, which is a very big fault, and that's my only constituent that right now I wonder about when it comes long-term to a team like Georgia to win a national title. But the enigma is there. The things that we wonder about whenever we talk mostly a Kirby Smart offensive-driven team, they're all in play. Playmakers that can get on open in space, the ability to run the football, the physical fight in the trenches for your offensive line, and kind of a country backwards quarterback that makes just too much sense for Athens, GA. They have all that. And I wonder if the defense can get there efficiently when it comes to the pass rush win rate. I wonder if they're going to be able to pressure quarterbacks into making mistakes. But outside of really that, you got to feel pretty good about the direction that we're seeing Georgia go in and the way their schedule pans on out. You get Auburn this week, then you get to face off against Ole Miss. Really, the only other 2 trap games left on there are Jacksonville against Florida and Georgia Tech out in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, a place that you've lived for basically, what is it now? The last 5, 6, 7 years since Kirby's gotten there in 2015. Outside of that year, you basically called Atlanta home. You're fine. I don't worry about Georgia. I still would put them in the college football playoff if the season were to end today. And finally, why not us? The top tier category, because of it's a year where everything seems to be clicking right. And I added a team for those of you that have been paying attention. Oklahoma has the second best defense in college football. And in my opinion, they have the best defense in the SEC. You've proven to me right now that you can win with Michael Hawkins. If you prove you can win the Red River Shootout on Saturday with Michael Hawkins, what more is there to doubt? Wide receiver play? Yeah, I know that you're not going to have probably Keontez Lewis, but you got Javonte Gibson. He's going to look pretty good, I think, on Saturday afternoon. You still have Isaiah Satanga. He's awesome. You also have Deion Burks. You also have Jaron Kanek, who makes plays as a tight end. And you're finally figured out you got to run the football. And I didn't say that Kent State, you ran it efficiently this season against Power 4 teams. You're averaging 3.2 yards to play with your running backs. But this may be the moment where Jaden Ott welcomes himself to the Norman folk. This may be the moment where Torrey Blaylock says to everybody, hey, I'm just as talented. And even if they don't, you know what you got? A defense that's going to bail you out of trouble, get pressure on a quarterback into making multiple mistakes, and a secondary that can make plays on the football. And that's a testament to Brett Venables. Ben Arbuckle has been such a good find and a night and day difference from what we saw with Seth Luttrell that it's very easy to see changes in Michael Hawkins. I'm not saying that he is John Mateer. And I'm not saying that if you told me he was going to be your starting quarterback for the rest of the year, I believe Oklahoma could win the SEC. But he's not going to be your starting quarterback for the rest of the year. You just got to get past the Longhorns. And you may, because of Chipotle and the message boards and college football sickos community, have number 10 play perfect on Saturday. We don't know that. But it does feel like because the defense has trended upward, the offensive line is doing enough to keep quarterbacks upright. The wide receivers are breaking on open the way they couldn't last year. Why not believe that Oklahoma is good enough to win the college football playoff? And the same thing goes for Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, in years where no expectations are necessary, what happens? He hits. Trinidad Chambliss, who is this kid? Oh, a D2 player? Yeah, now he's your starting quarterback, and he's throwing for over 300 yards back-to-back-to-back games, including one against a top 10 defense in LSU. You can run the football efficiently like you couldn't last season, and you got 3 different dudes that all can make plays. Oh, if that's not enough, you got 4 different wide receivers that have over 100 receiving yards at this point. So you may not have an elite Trey Harris 2.0, but you got a bunch of guys that are able to get open and in space. And you got a quality tight end in Daquan Wright that's actually meeting expectations more so than I envisioned. Your defense is also playing pretty freaking well right now when all things are said and done. And it's a manageable schedule. 2 road tests still ahead. 1 in Norman, 1 in Athens. You get to welcome South Carolina into your backyard. You get to welcome a team like Florida into your backyard. And, of course, we already know that the Egg Bowl is going to be topsy-turvy no matter what. Ole Miss is legit. It's time to start taking them seriously that way. And finally, Texas A&M. You want to know what Texas A&M is? And to the Aggie Nation who has been sticking around waiting for me to talk about them, they are like a red flag cross-off list every single week. You have a whole bunch of things that say, I don't want to be with this person, and that's a red flag. Oh, your breath stinks too much. Oh, they get in fights with their family all the time. Oh, they're mean to waiters in public restaurants. And then you had that, and you meet Texas A&M. And it's like they take good care of themselves. They have a 401k. They love to tip 18%. And so it's just a checking off the box every single week. They can't throw the football this week. Oh, you know what? We're just going to run for 300 yards. Check. Oh, you know what? Our offense is stalling a little bit. No problem. We'll win a rock fight defensively and get a couple of big-time sacks. Check. Oh, we can't run the football efficiently. No worries. We got 2 receivers that probably can go for 1,000 yards and can win with the explosive plays downfield. Check. Oh, well, you know what? We got to have a really big-time coaching moment. Oh, you mean like Mike Elko making adjustments in the second half to where we outgain Mississippi State by 300 yards just in that category? Check. We got to win with special teams. We can win with Randy Bond kicking a pretty big field goal. Check. Culture, identity, persona, persistence all have been on display at Kyle Field this season. It's going to be interesting to see when you get road tested. Got to go to Farote, got to go to Fayetteville, got to take on LSU in Death Valley, and that's going to be a night game, and you don't win there. But why not Texas A&M? This season specifically, with this identity and this culture, why not Texas A&M? I'll wait for an answer. You're not going to find one. But Those are my tier lists. Is the basketball season, life in the fast lane, head coach opening, fight or flight, doubted and dangerous, the usual suspects, and why not us? Let me know in the comments section where your team ranks, where you think they do belong, and more specifically, what you want to see next week's tier rankings called, because after a separation Saturday, we're going to be able to go ahead and make some adjustments. That is it for me right here on SEC Unfiltered. But before we get out of here, make sure you go stop by FANDUEL.com. College football season's underway. The MLB postseason's underway. We got the NHL back. The NBA season is upon us, and we want to win you some money. So go on over to FANDUEL.com/SECU, create same-day parlays, bets, constant things that you cannot fathom. Whatever it is, go on over, win your money today. With everything in full swing, the question is, are you ready to play? Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to get started today. $250 with your first $5 bet win. All right, I'm Cole Thompson. I will see you next week for another tier rankings. And remember, Separation Saturday is upon us. Things are about to get crazy in the SEC for the month of October. Peace.